Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jose Posadas, and I am a volunteer with AARP California. Welcome to everybody who is joining us live. Today, we are here with special guest Marlo Custodio, founder and CEO of NEBA, an award-winning Silicon Valley video production agency, to learn more about their recent project, San Jose Narratives. We have an exciting program ahead of us for today. We encourage you to share this stream now. Share it on your social media page so interested friends and family may also participate in today's conversation. We invite you to ask Marlo questions in the comment section, and we will take a few questions live towards the end of our conversation. So, welcome and thank you, Marlo, for making time for us today. First, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself and your work?
Thank you, Jose. My name is Marlo Custodio. I'm a filmmaker from San Jose, California. I began my journey as a storyteller, as a community journalist at the age of 16 years old at Silicon Valley Debug. I would continue to hone my storytelling style and my community organizing at De Anza College and UC Santa Cruz. And when I returned from college, I came back to San Jose, taught digital storytelling in community centers and juvenile hall. And later on, I would launch my own video production company 7 years ago called NEBA, where I direct, produce, and film commercials and documentaries. And a little bit about my work. My work really focuses on capturing narratives. It's cinematic. And I think what's distinctive about it is more of the process of storytelling. I like to build relationships with who I'm connecting with. The process isn't transactional, it's very personal, it's reflective, and can be transformational.
Thank you, Marlo. So, we are here to learn more about your recent project, San Jose Narratives, which is a collection of mini documentaries featuring San Jose's unique places, stories, and unsung everyday heroes. Can you share more about this project and specifically what inspired you to start it?
Thank you, Jose. Yeah, San Jose Narratives is a collection of my work from over the last decade. As a storyteller, I had to learn about the history of San Jose, from Silicon Valley to the Valley of Heart's Delight, even to the Ohlone people who inhabited this land prior. Living in this point of time, I've witnessed the rapid change and growth over the last 10 years. And I want to be able to preserve the oral history and the people that continue to play a role in our city. The unsung heroes, the everyday citizens of San Jose who play an impactful role in their part of their neighborhood and section in the city. And I have this appreciation and passion for preserving stories, remembering those who came here before us and those who create a ripple effect of legacies without many realizing the individual and collective contributions that it takes. There's many times where I've been inspired, and telling these stories can be financially challenging, but it's so intrinsically so rewarding. As a young community organizer, I've had the pleasure to organize and march beside elders who were civically engaged and played roles in changing policy and the city. And I've had the pleasure to organize beside them, and I looked up to them because they looked at me as if I was the future. And really, I was just a young knucklehead storyteller at the time, but they saw my potential as someone that could make a difference, and storytelling was my way of doing that. Most recently, my passion for storytelling was reignited when I was in Italy for a project in Milan, and I would come across many areas of Milan where there was archaeological excavations and many times where they would stop when they come across burials, and it was they would stop the whole aspect of the infrastructure or whatever was happening in that moment of the day to try to figure out what who these bones belong to and what part of history did this contribute to Italy. And I saw that kind of like love and a passion for the past, and that's something that I continue to be inspired by. Like, what can we do to continue to have the same thing in American culture? And so that kind of appreciation and curiosity of the past, the people that I've come to work with and that are no longer with me anymore, that I've been inspired by, are those who continue to inspire me to tell these stories.
Well, stories definitely do resonate with us and with our communities. You from the Filipino community, me from the Mexican American Latino community. Are there any specific inspiring stories you heard from San Jose community members, specifically older adults, that made you feel, wow, these are the stories that our next generation needs to know about?
Absolutely. And, you know, I didn't grow up with grandparents, and so I didn't have that opportunity to have elders in my life. And um, I would often see my friends who had elders in their lives, and how valuable that was for them to hear stories and to have that love from an older um, adult. And so I was, as a young person, I was always seeking that. And as a young student from the Filipino Youth Coalition, we would go to Northside Community Center and we would learn about the history of World War II Filipino veterans. And we would speak with them and connect with them. And I think that was kind of like what really got me interested in learning these stories even deeper. And as a filmmaker for San Jose Narratives, I've met a couple who never miss a day at the fair. And so that means for 80 years consecutively, they've been at the Santa Clara County Fairgrounds. And so that was a very fascinating story. It was also romantic because they talked about falling in love and how they continue to do what they do today as a passion for the community. Um, Another inspiring story that I've came across was a group of middle school girl wrestlers. And mind you, they compete against boys. And these two female wrestlers were captains of their entire middle school team. Actually, one of them actually broke records for being the first female county champion in Santa Clara County. So it was just super unique, and it was just an inspiring narrative. I met a grocery store owner who's been in Japantown for over 75 years. I've connected with the art director of Los Lopeños, a Mexican dance team based in San Jose that has been performing in San Jose for over 60 years. All these stories hold such a significant value to the collective identity of San Jose, and I hope I can continue to tell more stories and provide a platform and share their unique backgrounds and what they contribute to our community.
Well, it's definitely true that San Jose and this valley has a rich history, a lot of tradition, a lot of personal stories, a lot of living legends that are still around with us today. So
Absolutely.
thank you, Marlo. We are now going to show a quick sneak peek of some of the San Jose narrative interviews.
In San Jose, California, Orly Locyao's name created a stir among NFL fans when Colin Kaepernick announced that he added another tattoo. Locyao described the pattern ink as a Banik-inspired pattern and Polynesian mold that symbolizes family and power. Locyao, as a graphic artist, started his humble beginnings in his parents' garage. He has been in the ink business for 17 years. He says Kaepernick's visit is a boon for his businesses.
56 years as volunteers, and actually we've not missed a day at the fair in 56 years. Others have other hobbies and things that they enjoy. We enjoy the fair.
Sitting down, the doctor said, if you want to die, just go sit in your easy chair and watch television. So for us, it's getting out of the easy chair, going out working with young people.
Everything that goes on, the people, the work that we get to do, it's kind of in our blood. We're addicted to it.
When people think about San Jose and they think MMA, we're the first ones to come up. We've been in the top 10 years in a row. But this year, without a doubt, we're number one. There is no close second this year as far as gym accomplishments. This is the biggest year we've ever had, and we have the number one and number two pound for pound best fighters in the world at the present time. Daniel Cormier is number one, and Khabib is number two.
My dad joined the United States Navy. He brought us over from the Philippines when I was about 2 years old. He was in the Navy for about 4 years, and then after that, he was on and off at work, working in the electronics field in Silicon Valley Electronics and building semiconductor chips. And then from there, when he would get laid off, he was working in the farms, working in the fields with my other uncles, just to make ends meet.
In middle schools, it's co-ed. So if you're a girl wrestler, you are in whatever weight division you are in, and it is 90% boys. So you are wrestling the other boys. There is no just girl division. We have a very high amount of girls. We had 22 go out for the team, 5 on the varsity team. Our 2 best wrestlers, technically speaking, hands down, were two of our girls. 2 captains of our team are both girls. This is absolutely unique.
As being a captain, you have to try to be friends with the team, but also being able to help them as like a coach, but being able to be there for them as a friend too.
Above us, these lanterns, and on each of these tags that are kind of fluttering are names of individuals who have died, who have been either their family members or friends. And these lanterns were made to remember and celebrate that life.
My family's been in Japantown for several generations. My great-grandparents settled here, and so I really do honor them on a day like today.
It's a time to sit back and reflect upon people who've come before us, concerning the things they've done, the sacrifices they made, and the sacrifices we'll have to make for the next generation.
Those are incredibly inspiring stories, and so much diversity in this valley. You mentioned the Northside Community Center. There were features about Japantown, but there are still people that do not know some of our history, especially those that are new to the area. For example, they might not know that we had a Pinoy town here in the 1930s through the 50s. So it's great that people like you are preserving that history, that story, and sharing it with the communities and the people that are going to follow us when both of us are long gone. So what advice do you have to folks who want to capture and share the voices and stories of their own communities?
Yeah, Jose, it's a constant. There's constant generations where we need to continue to inform and educate and bring to perspective of those who've come before us. And my advice to people who want to capture stories in their community is to just get started. I think many storytellers feel like they need to have the whole bells and whistles of a huge production company or something cinematic to capture these narratives. But my first advice is to just get started, and to do so with building relationships. Often filmmakers or opportunists or storytellers will capture a narrative and do it in a way that may not be as genuine and personal. And I think to remember that it's about relationships. And when you do something with empathy, you're able to tell stories with heart, and you're able to capture the vulnerability of those who feel, who are telling stories that mean so much to them. And so that would be my advice.
Yeah. And with today's modern smartphone, everybody really is their own production studio, because you have everything in the palm of your hand, maybe a little GoPro camera, and you can do anything today. Sit in front of your parents or your grandparents and have them talk for 10 or 15 minutes. That's going to be an amazing story they're going to share with you. That's what I try to do myself with my mom and my nephews and nieces, so that they know where their history is from, which is on the other side of the border in Mexico. So we have time for, looks like, about maybe 2 questions. So I'm going to ask the first question. Somebody is asking us, as a longtime San Jose resident, I'm so excited to learn about the San Jose narratives. Are there any common themes or stories that you heard about San Jose?
Yeah, thank you so much for that question. The common themes and stories that I'm seeing and hearing that haven't been captured, that is shown on record, and just conversations outside of the recording is the fear of change in San Jose. I think there's this fear of San Jose rapidly growing and changing to where they're going to forget or sweep under the rug the community narratives of people who made this region what it is. And that is something that I resonate with completely because we're seeing the change happen so rapidly. I think within even like the last 5 6 years, we've had more than 300,000, 400,000 people come to San Jose, and so preserving these stories, I think the importance. What I'm still trying to figure out is how do you share the value and the importance of these stories to those who are still new to the area. And so I'm really seeing an opportunity for education and also just more community building. Um, and I think we oftentimes we're seeing people that are coming into our region as um, those that are taking something away or um, as newcomers not appreciating or not appreciating San Jose culture. But I think really what it is we need to continue to build bridges and we just need to share the narratives of the region to those who are still learning about San Jose. And one day their children are going to become San Jose natives as well. And so I think there's this constant fear of change in San Jose. And what I hope to see is just more stories to continue to build more empathy and more community building.
Yeah, and we saw that in the videos right now about the elderly couple who has been going to the fairgrounds and who know this community as an agricultural community, and now we know as a tech community. So who knows what it will be in another 40 or 50 years from today. We have
Absolutely.
another question. How do you identify the subjects of your interviews? Are there qualifications or characteristics for people you document?
That's a good question. Um, I think the process of identifying stories, um, it really requires being out there. It really requires meeting people, building with community-based organizations, nonprofits. Um, so some of these subjects and people that I've met is a mixture of just being out there in the community, attending community events, special neighborhood initiatives, um, as well as connecting with those who are change makers in our city and seeing and hearing what they are viewing as people who are, so to speak, mayors of their own block, right? So it really takes connecting and being out there to learn about these narratives, but also to stay in tune with local media, whether that's the Metro or San Jose Spotlight or the San Jose Mercury News. Um, just continuing to be aware and connecting with those in our community that are playing a role as change makers is important. The qualifications or characteristics for the people I document, I suppose I suppose I'm looking for stories that haven't been told yet or haven't been shown in a different angle or perspective. Usually stories that haven't been told yet are special to me, because of the fact that to me they're underdogs. They haven't yet been highlighted, or maybe someone hasn't seen the special value that story has to a different demographic or population. Um, but what I'm noticing too is the characteristics of people that I have documented is really just what kind of perspective do I come with when looking into the story. What kind of lens am I coming in with? Usually, other stories tell it with their own kind of special agenda, and I want to try to come into a narrative that's really about the story itself and no other agenda attached to it. And so that's why it's called San Jose Narratives. I wanted to be a history of the people of San Jose, somewhat of like Howard Zenn's, history of the people of the U.S., right? From the perspective of the people. And so that's what I really try to challenge, and what I also look for when other people tell stories about San Jose. What's the agenda? What's the premise? And so the characteristics I try to look for is just how do you tell a story that's really just the story itself.
Yeah. And making those connections has been difficult because of this pandemic these last 2 years. But I think creative folks like you have never stopped. You're still collecting those stories. And I anticipate probably sometime next year, there's really going to be a burst of artistic expression because it's been bottled up for the last 2 years. So I'm really looking for
Mm,
that explosion of creativity that's really going to come to this community of Silicon Valley and San Jose
yeah,
specifically.
yeah.
Do you have any last words for us, Marlo, before we close?
Yeah, I want to, I want to say thank you, Jose, for having me, interviewing me. I want to say many thanks to the AARP San Jose team, Shay, Sophie, Grace, Sonia. Thank you for having me. I want to give a shout out to my fiscal sponsors, the Exhibition District, Erwin Salazar, and my sponsors of San Jose's Night Foundation, Chris Thompson, Alwyn Herxthal. Um, I want to, also thank my wife, Joanne Leah. Thank you for all the support, for supporting me as a storyteller. There've been many nights where my wife used to sleep on the floor of my studio as I was completing these videos, and her unconditional love and support has allowed me to continue to push as a storyteller. And lastly, I want to send a message for anyone that is caring for a loved one that is aging in place. The first love of my life, my mother, Mary Lou Alvarado, she passed away June of this year. And I want to let those know that that are taking care of someone that is aging, that you aren't alone, and that there are many people that care for you. And be present. And like you were mentioning, Jose, capturing the stories of your own family, and that's something that I really want to encourage for people out there. If you have someone that's an elder in your life, preserve your family stories. Uh, Whether it's just the iPhone, off the iPhone, or camera, whatever it is, just start asking your loved ones, their background, how they came to America, or any stories that were significant to them and to your own personal family. Go out there and preserve your oral history.
Yeah. Thank you very much. That was very touching, and condolences to you and your family on your mom's passing. I think I
Thank
also
you.
heard earlier before we started the show the voice of a youngster in your family. Is that correct?
Oh yeah, I got my 3-year-old who
All
was
right.
banging on the door earlier
Congratulations.
before he went live. Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
He's going to have stories as well in the future, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
For anyone who joined us late, we had the wonderful opportunity of speaking with Marlo Custodio, founder and CEO of NEBA, about San Jose Narratives, which is a collection of mini documentaries featuring San Jose's unique places, stories, and unsung heroes. You can learn more about San Jose Narratives at www.neba.agency when it officially launches next week. Is that on Monday?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Awesome. So Marlo, thank you for joining us today. It's been a great pleasure talking with you. And our viewers, we hope you all have a wonderful day, and thank you for joining us at AARP California Webinar Wednesday Conversation. Happy holidays to all of you. Thank you.